So if you're Mexican, you've probably seen these chocolates before, Carlos V or Carlos V. But who exactly was Carlos V? He was the king of Spain, or more accurately, the king of Castilla, at the time of the Aztec conquest. And later, he was also simultaneously the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. It was in 1516 that he became the king of Spain, and he was only 16 years old at the time. And in 1519, when Hernán Cortés set out to conquer Mexico, the now 19-year-old Carlos V didn't actually know who Cortés was and didn't authorize his expedition, so Cortés was actually acting outside the law. But beginning in 1529, and this is after the conquest, Carlos V officially recognized in law the right for allied native noblemen to retain their pre-Hispanic titles of nobility. And in 1542, he introduced what was called the New Laws, which granted numerous rights to indigenous people and reaffirmed their citizenship within the Spanish Empire. It also categorically outlawed the enslavement of indigenous people in the Americas. He also allowed for indigenous people to be granted knighthood into the Order of Santiago, which was the highest-ranking military order in the Spanish Empire. He also created a separate knighthood system for indigenous allies known as the Military Order of the Tekle Knights. It was also during his rule that he affirmed the rights of indigenous people to freely and lawfully use, possess, and retain ownership of their properties all throughout the Americas within the Spanish Empire. It was also under him that the monarchy established the República de Indios system, which was a system of government in which indigenous people elected their own governors and councils within their own towns. Towns under this system were known as indigenous republics, and they lasted up until independence. It was because of laws like these that by the time of Mexican independence, about 90% of indigenous people lived within their own towns and had titles recognizing their communal land ownership. Even native people in the southwestern United States that were once part of the Spanish Empire have fought against the United States in court to have their Spanish land titles recognized by the American government. Even in Mexico, indigenous Mexicans have fought the government in Mexican courts to get the government to recognize these land titles. And one of the most important examples of this was the community of Emiliano Zapata. When Zapata began organizing for the revolution in 1909, he was fighting for the Mexican government to recognize a land grant that was issued by the Spanish monarchy in 1607.